And he said, would you be willing to do a program on how to do craft shows? And I said, yeah. I said, I have to fit it in my schedule of when I do craft shows. And then I got to thinking, I said, Rob, do you possibly need one the first Saturday in January? Is that why you're calling me? And he said, yes. I said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. You do a scroll saw class for me, and I'll do this one for you. So between just after Christmas of that, I had to come up with it. So I came up with the 8.5 P's of how to do craft shows. The tip of the iceberg of how to do craft shows. I mean, there's so many things, there's no way I can do it all. I'm going to try to do it all, or try to do what I can and show you some different things in what to do and what I say, and these are my opinions and my things, and you have to take them that way. Some things I say are no-nos, never do them. And I tell people at the shows, if they ask me, what can I do better? And I say, don't do this. And they come back to me 6 months or a year later and say, that really worked. And so I feel comfortable, saying that. Okay, now, I'm going to try to make this as generic as I can. Whether you sell pottery, whether you sell knitting, whether you sell stained glass, whether you sell jewelry, whatever you sell, you just have to put this into your context of how you can make it work for you. Some things are easier. I always laugh at the jewelers. They come in with two tables and two briefcases, and they're set up in 5 minutes, and they're done. I have trip after trip after trip after trip after boxes. I've got 42 boxes. Okay, I was making things in my shop, and probably I was the only one that had this problem. I was making things in my shop. I gave them to relatives, I gave them to friends, I gave them to this, I gave them to that, and I ran out of places I could get rid of them. I couldn't get, but I still wanted to make some more things. So I had to come up with a methodology that would give me an excuse to make some more things. So I decided to do craft shows. Well, it's this. It's a scale, But you have products. So whatever that product may be, and we'll talk about the different products and the different methodologies and the different things. I guess I got to get a couple out here for props. But anyway, so we got product. Well, in the process, what you have to do is say, okay, I've got product, I've got an overabundance of it, and now I'm thinking about doing craft shows. Okay, that's number one. Now what you need to do, or my suggestion of what you need to do, is now what you need to do is get out a yellow pad, get your phone or your camera, and go out on the internet, magazines or whatever, and look and see what craft shows are happening close to you as soon as possible. Not for you to show, for you to go to those craft shows with a totally different mindset. You're not going to that craft show to purchase items. You're going to that craft show to see how those vendors are showing their product. Gee, I really don't like, hey, that's really good over there. Whatever it is, gee, I could use that for selling my pottery. I like the way they've got that double rack or whatever it is. What I'm saying, what you're doing is going with a whole different mindset. You're not going to buy what's ever there. You're going to look and see, how can I use their setup, their arrangement, and do it for me? Okay? Remember, in most cases, you're limited to a 10-foot by 10-foot space. If you do outside shows, that's your limit. Now, okay, you can get a 10 by 20, but it also costs more money, and now you've got to get that back some way. So what you're going to do is go, take your camera. The one thing I do ask is, if you're going to take pictures, go to the person, go to the person that's selling. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them you're not taking pictures of their product. All you want to do is you really liked your idea on that table you made. I really like the way that stand is set up. I.e., that was a cool idea where you took 2 step ladders and you put them up, and you took 1 by 12 pine boards to make shelving. I thought that was so great. And if you're like me and you get older, a picture is a lot better when I get home. But I mean, there's so many little things like that you can pick up at these shows that'll benefit what might go for whatever product you're trying to do. Okay, and along that way, you're going to pick up other little tips, and I'm going to bring some tips here, and you're going to come up with some other tips. Okay, now, up here, the one thing I have up here is I have masking tape, a book, a generalistic book, and a folding chair. Okay? To me, these are no-nos at craft shows. Okay? This one is not bad to have. There's places to use it, but where people use it, it causes big problems. You take this and say, oh, gee, I don't have this. I want to put up my sign on my tent. So they take this, and they tear off a piece. Well, it's not going to hurt anything. I'll just make a double-sided one, and I'll put it on my tent. I'll put it on my tent. Man, it'll hold my sign up just beautifully. It will. Take it off. It's fine. 2 shows later, you got the biggest black spots all over your tent, where all that sand and dust and everything collected, where that gooiness, you can never get it off your tent. So that's my no-no. The other no-no, we're going to start with the chair. Most of the time, you're going to go to these shows. This is the back of the tent, and this is the person. They're in the back of the tent like this. Can't figure out why no one has come in their tent. And then, that's not bad enough. Then, they're like this. Nobody wants to bother them. So, that's why I say those are my biggest no-nos. I would go to the craft shows, and you always saw all the artists. They always had chairs like this. They were sitting like this in the front of their booth. Okay? There's 3 things. Number 1, they were up front. They were welcoming. They were also the most important thing. They were eye level with their customers. And their customers felt comfortable. So therefore, they would buy. They could ask questions. They didn't want to bother that person back there. And it's very hard at a craft show to get people to come in your booth, and that's what you want to do. So anyway, so you need to be eye level with your customer. I mean, that's the main thing. So either have this, or I always sit up here, so I sit in my stool, so I'm eye level. So you're eye level with your customers versus sitting in a folding chair. Folding chairs are easier to get to the show and whatever it is, but eye level with the customer, to me, that's a good process. This method is proven. I've gotten feedback on it. If you would like to make 7 to 9% more sales, do this one item. Make some PVC pipe like this. Okay? Okay? Customers do not like to bend over. You will increase your sales 7 to 9%. If it's more of the eye level, it's also now where they can see it. I mean, it's pretty tight. I mean, 4 pieces of PVC pipe. All you got to do is measure the thing. What you have to do is measure the distance from the leg, where the leg bends, or as high up as your PVC will go, and then take that to the bottom of the leg and then add 6 inches. Because you want about 6 inches of height. This may be a little bit higher than normal, but I mean, it still will work. But I'm saying that's one idea. That'll increase 7 to 9%. I don't use tablecloths because I don't use tables. Stay right where you are, Bob. Just turn your legs. My whole setup, because I've got so much product, I use what's called baker's racks. Now, I didn't want to bring the big one in because I already brought a tent and everything else in. But basically the big ones are 40 inches. They're straight and long, but it's the same principle. They fold up. They're easy to get in cars. Back when you guys knew, when I did trade shows the first 10 or 15 years, I did them out of a van. Okay? You unfold them. They come down. These were cheaper than woodworking. I went to Hobby Lobby. If you join up for Hobby Lobby, join up like on the first of the month, go online. Hobby Lobby sends you a coupon, 50% off of everything you buy. Okay? For a month, for 30 days. So these were probably selling for like 65 bucks. So I got them for 32. You can't do it and make it functional, whatever it is. I said, and when these wear out, I'll replace them with wood. Well, that was 15 years ago. But I came to the counter with two of them. Well, this one was 35 and this one was going to be 65. But then the manager was there and says, well, you can buy another one tomorrow. So I went to 2 Hobby Lobbies over the next 8 or 9 days and bought one at each one. But, so that guy. And this is what I use. Now, yes, this goes against my principle here. Okay? But I still have it here and here and here. But I can get more product and more stuff out. You'll see what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, so this is what I use. I use what's called baker's racks. And these are corners. These are corners. But they're supposed to go on the end. Like this would be here. You'd have a straight piece and then you have another. They're what they call end caps, okay? Well, I was doing my arrangement. Remember I said first thing you do is you go to craft shows, then you go get a piece of graph paper and you put it down and say, okay, 10 by 10 space. How can I lay it out? Okay, my table's this and it's going to go here and whatever. Basically your first time you set it up so that your booth there's a booth here and there's a booth on the other side, so your opening is in the front. So you have to figure out how you're going to make it. And my rule of the thumb is I want to be able to have enough room so a wheelchair can go through. Not that I get many wheelchairs go through, but the ones that come, they're very happy. But it's also enough room if 2 people are in the booth. So that gives me my ability to look at that side of it. But anyway, so I was playing with these and messing around and said, oh, if you take 4 of these, as you guys saw them at the show, if you put 4 of these together, you get a circle. I've used them in circles ever since I got them. And then what I do is I take Velcro and tie it. Since we're on that subject, okay, everybody at craft shows uses wire ties. Zip ties, wire ties, they go, put them on, you cut them off. What do you have to do? You have to go back to the store and buy some more, right? These are 15 years old. And they will hold anything. I use them for all kinds of different functions. And they last. And they're about the same cost. A package of those is about the same cost as one package of zip ties. That's what I use a lot of times. The length, you say, well, length is still, you can always shorten it, you can make it. I use it for holding flags. I use it for holding weights. I use it for, I tie all my baker's racks together, so now they're a solid piece. Now, the other thing is, you need to lay out your booth. Okay? And then say, okay, this is what I liked. You've gone to some shows, you picked up some ideas and some concepts. And you want to go cheap. You want to go as cheap as you can. I understand. And what you do is you build it as you go, but you figure out what you want. And then what you do is you say, okay, I got to have a tent. The kicker is if you're going to do craft shows, in my case, my shows are better if I do them outside. And my mindset is if I'm going to do craft shows and I'm doing them outside, it's always going to rain. Okay? And you go in with that mindset, it's not a problem. I remember one year I did 12 shows. 10 of them it rained. Okay? 2 it did not rain. I was inside for the 2 that didn't rain. How does it work, But anyway, so what you want to do, and then what you want to do is you need to go buy a tent. Okay, there's a lot of tent options out there, okay? But my philosophy and my suggestion to you, this is my personal opinion, is go get an Easy Up, okay? But do not buy an Easy Up off the Easy Up site online. These are hypothetical numbers. Easy Up online may cost you $450 to $500. Because what you want is you want a tent and you want sides, okay? The reason I say Easy Up, because Easy Up, you'll notice the poles are straight up and down. You get some of these other tents and they're like this. They may be 10, they say they're 10 foot, but their poles are at an angle, which are a pain. They don't have sides on them and whatever. Why do I need sides? Well, a couple things. Number one, you get used to it. The first couple shows, you kind of go like this and say, I can't do that. You go to a show, I set up Friday night. Set up everything inside so I'm ready for Saturday morning. And I just take it, zip my sides up, and I go home. Is it going to be safe? I've done it for a long time, and like I said, in my theory, what it is and what I do, they're going to go after the jewelry people versus they go after me. So you know what I'm just saying. And I have my saw and other stuff in there. But what I'm saying, so they're good for security at night, and they're also good if you have a rainstorm that's blowing. You can cover it up. So you need something with sides. And what you want to do is go to BJ's, Sam's, or Costco, okay? And 9 chances out of 10, they're going to be on sale toward the end of the summer or whatever. You'll probably get them for $199. It'll be the same identical tent that Easy Up has online for $400, $500. Okay? Now, here's the other thing I'm going to add to it. If you get one and you get a tent for craft shows, do not ever loan it to anybody for a picnic, a party, something they're going to have or whatever. I did my first one. Came back, it was trash. They forgot to put weights on it. And putting it up, they didn't know how to put it up, so they bent all the poles. It was a pain. This particular tent right here has been up over 400 times, at least, if not that much. It's old. I mean, I lost the first one in the first 2 months, and then I had to get another one. But what I'm just saying, so once you have one, to me, that's like your building of your shop for your sales, and you don't lend it to anybody. And I'm adamant about that. I mean, so that's just something to think about from that standpoint. Then what you need to do if you're going to do shows, you want to do shows that are close to you to start with. Why? Because you always forget something. So do shows close to home to start with. Now, when you're applying for shows, the first thing you're going to say is, what shows have you done? Sometimes you can't lie. But they're also going to say, and it's not a lie, they're going to say, I need a picture of your setup. I need to see how you're going to set up. And so what you do, set it up in your garage, set it up in your backyard or whatever, and then take what was on the paper and put it in the tent and see if it fits. And say, that ain't going to work. Everything was fine, but I only had a flat join. I didn't realize I'm hypothetical. I didn't realize my racks are 12 feet tall and they won't fit inside the tent. or there's a rack in the tent and they won't fit. So you got to, so you make up pictures and whatever. Another thing I didn't say, when you get a tent, get a white tent. The good shows only allow you to have white tents. They don't like the other tents. Food tents are an exception, but I'm just saying. Most of them, you say, well, I'm going to get a blue tent. Well, also blue tents are hot. White at least is as cool as you can possibly get from that standpoint. So buy that. And then you can go to, the other thing I said go to shows, but you could also go to some stores or retailers or some shops or whatever that sell product like you sell and say, ooh, that's the kind of stands they have. I can make that. When we look at it, you've got shows that are juried and unjuried. Juried means you pay a fee, and what they do, in theory, if they do it right, they're looking to see, i.e., if there's going to be 100 people at this show, There's going to be 100 booths. Okay? The rule of the thumb is 10% are wood, 10% are jewelry, 10% are textiles, 10% are pottery. So that's what they want. They only want that amount, okay? And because if you had more than that, like I went to a show last year and didn't do it this year because they had 110 booths and 82 of them were jewelry because it was run by a volunteer. The show's been going on for a long time, but the person didn't jury it the way they should have, and they had 82 jewelry booths. I was in there. I did well that year. Why did I not go back? I didn't go back because word on the street is, oh, we don't want to take the kids to that show. I mean, I had kid stuff, so I did well that year, okay? Because that wasn't the norm for that show, okay? But the next year they're going to say, that was all jewelry last year, we'll go to this other show. See, and I would have not, my sales would have gone down the tube because I wouldn't have had any clientele. I wouldn't have had any customers because of that fact. So that's just something you have to be aware of. And remember, you need to apply almost 6 months, 8 months in advance if you're going to do a show because they fill up fast. Some fill up faster than others. Now the other side, and we're going to talk more about it, but what I'm saying, when you fill it out, you say, okay, Hans has his saw here. I do textiles, you bring your sewing machine. You do pottery, you do your wheel. If you do jewelry, you bring what you need to do your jewelry. You never will be able to make inventory while you're at the show. That's not the intent. The intent is to get this one comment from your customers. Or maybe it's a couple comments. He really makes that. It's handmade. Oh, look how he makes that. He actually does that. Because there's so much stuff out there at some of these shows that aren't jewelry that they go to Merchandise Mart or they go someplace else. They bring in the stock. People buy it. I got things left over. What do? Let's see. I got my receipt right here. And they go back to Merchandise Mart and take it back. When we build something, we don't get that option. We don't take it all apart and glue it back together and then take it back to the lumberyard, or whatever. So, but I'm just saying, something to think about. And you're looking at booth spaces from basically $25 for maybe a one-day show, which may be at a church, and it may be one table, to $600 for a show, which may be Yellow Daisy's like $700. I won't touch Yellow Daisy myself because right now I can't make enough inventory for Yellow Daisy. I could if I eliminated about 3 or 4 other shows. Because Yellow Daisies, if the weather is right, remember I make this comment, if the weather is right, you get huge crowds and you will sell what you normally sell at 3 to 4 weekend shows. That's the word on the street from my vendors. But if you don't have product and you run out, then you get blackballed and you can never go back. They blackball you because you ran out of merchandise, you ran out of product. And so it's a tough thing. And in my case, I work. You set up on Wednesday, the show is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And like I said, that's a large beats up on your body. I mean, that's a long show, and you got to hike in. It's in the woods and whatever. But it's a good show. They bring a lot of people. The other thing is, when you apply for shows, do not apply for a show, even if you're brand new. Do not apply for a show if it's their first year.
Oh, the show's first year.
The show's first year. Don't even try it. Don't even try it because they just don't have the enough people to come. I'm going to say 90% of the time they will not have the crowd. It hasn't been out there long enough. You like the shows that have been going for a while, and once you've been doing it, once you're in the circuit, once you start doing it, the people that can tell you the shows to go to and the shows that not to go to are the vendor on this side, across the way, or whatever. They'll tell you. If you say, hey, look, I'm thinking about China, Well, you don't want to go there. Oh yeah, you want to go there. It's really good. But you might want to tell them on the application you'd like this or you'd like this. Those spots are much better. Okay, now, you have to be flexible. And over the years, whatever the people gave me, that's where I went. And sometimes you have to be real flexible. I mean, most of the time I put on my application, and it helps, is I put on my application that I demo. And over the years, I've gotten a reputation for that. So people know it. So when they see my application or from prior years or whatever, they'll even come back, and when I come and do my booth, they say, oh, we've moved you. I hope you don't mind. We want to give you a little bit more space, and we gave you a corner booth. Because we know you draw people, and you draw a crowd, and we'd rather have the crowd. And that's fine, and I have no problems with that. And then I get that same spot year after year after year after year after year, and that works. So if you demo, if you put that on there, just those words, I demo, what I'm demoing and stuff, it usually gets you a better spot. You know, I don't ask for it, but I usually get it. But if you got a corner booth, you got to make sure you can arrange your booth so you do have that ability. I even said in the last one, I had a booth in the Roswell show because the way it was in rows, but they were single rows. Because of the crowds, massive crowds that they had, there was no way to get from my booth to the next row real easily. So I said, I opened my booth in the front and opened the back and let it be a walkthrough, but I just didn't make it a walkthrough. I made it, they had to stop and look and whatever, but I made it easy so they could get from one, and so where did everybody go? They came through my booth. That's what you want to do, is you want to get people through your booth. The other thing is, you know, take your pictures, do your thing, don't go to first-time shows, do shows close to home so you can do it. Your crafters next door are great for information, but they're also great for safety. Hey, you better watch that person over there. He's picking stuff up. He's taking stuff, you know, or whatever. Or if you got to go to the restroom, or if you got to go someplace and you're by yourself, they'll help you. You got to, you know, reciprocate with them. Different things. I'm going to talk about another one that was helpful to me when I set up. But you need pictures, right on a scale, and make sure your booth is weatherproof and customer proof. So make sure it's safety and whatever it is. Okay. So we've gone through that. You're going to do a process. Okay, now what you've got to do is you got to brand yourself. And this was by accident. This was totally by accident. I went to a show and I was setting up. It was one of my first shows, and I got real sweaty. So I went back to my car, and I had this. This was from a Rotary event I had, and I put it on. So that's what I wore that Saturday. Then on Sunday, I had people come to my booth and say, are you the same person that had that fish shirt on? Because I didn't have it on Sunday. Well, from that time on, this is my moniker, and this is what I, you know, just like you go to Walmart, you go to BJ's, you go to the anyone, you know, you've got to bring. So this is kind of my brand. I bought, and because I'm in the business, promotional products and things, I know where the shirt manufacturer is. It's in Canada, and they've got like 10 shirts that they haven't changed in 20 years. It's a camp shirt, and they keep the same fabric because people use them. So I bought a lot. And then in my case, my wife wears them also, so it's very easy. So they know who to pay the money to, you know, and that type of stuff. So this has become my moniker. And then along the way, and I don't want to wear it here because my glasses are on my head, but one of my friends, one of the customers came and gave me this back a long time ago and said, this fits with your parrot shirt. Or fish shirt, so you've got to have the parrot shirt. So this is kind of my brand that I have. So you need to brand yourself.